I was trapped in my school during a storm. Something got in. Written by Wolf McGruff. The thunder outside my third-hour class was soothing. It was close to spring break, so we were just watching a Disney or Pixar movie. I can't remember which company made it. It was Wall-E. Nobody was paying attention, either sleeping or on their phones. Heck, even the teacher was on his phone. The rain began coming down harder. I was seated by the window, and all I was doing was watching the rain. April storms like this were common where I lived, so it was nothing out of the ordinary. The bell rang to let us out of third hour and go to lunch. In my school, you can go outside during lunch period and you don't have to eat. It can be cool when you just aren't hungry. Of course, like usual, there were some of those kids, you know the ones, that thought that it would be fun to go outside and get soaked. I checked my phone while eating, so I didn't notice they hadn't come back all lunch period. I got a weather alert on my phone that we were under a tornado watch. Looking outside, it seemed about right. When the bell rang, I tossed my tray and I headed to PE. The kids who had gone outside were supposed to be in that class. However, when the teacher did roll call, all three that had gone outside were absent. A couple of us were confused because we had seen them. One kid spoke up to say that she'd seen them go outside during lunch. The teacher sighed and pressed a button to talk to the office.
Hello?
A voice rang out over the speaker. Yeah, are Ethan, Luke, and Nate inside? My students said that they were here just a couple of minutes ago. There was silence over the intercom. We all stood around awkwardly, wondering when we were going to play Capture the Flag. The voice came back over the intercom again after a couple of seconds.
You said that they're not with you.
No, they're not here, the teacher replied. We heard the intercom hang up after that. The teacher assumed that the kids were running around in the halls and that the office staff had to try and find them. We started Capture the Flag, and it usually only takes about 2 rounds of the game before the bell rings and we have to go. However, the bell didn't ring. We ended up playing a 3rd round before we realized that something was wrong. Our attention snapped to the clock, which was 13 minutes after the class was supposed to end. Just as we were preparing to leave, the intercom rang out.
Attention teachers, keep your students in your class until further notice.
My heart sank. I was always a nervous kid. This made me nervous like many other things do. The teacher looked confused for a second before switching the game to Martian Tag. We played for a while before getting tired. Finally, he conceded and put a movie on for us to watch, Space Jam. A couple of minutes in and we heard a blood-freezing shriek from outside the classroom. The teacher naturally got up to investigate, and all of us were staring at the door in fear, wondering what could have made that noise. A kid that I didn't know too well, Kai, snuck over to the door to look out the small windows. He stared for a couple of seconds before pushing the door open and leaving. I had no idea what to do. But after 3 other students did the same thing, I freaked out. Everyone in the room was starting to wonder what was happening. So we all made our way to the door, all 14 of us that were left in the room. We peeked out the window. It was just an empty hallway. It was still raining outside, and it was getting unnaturally loud. Well, I'm going home, a kid said before pushing us out of the way and leaving the gym. I wanted to get out of there at that point too. Slowly, everyone filed out of the gym and went off in different directions. All I had on me was my phone, but that was the only important thing that I had brought to school. I decided to just head straight for the exit, as did one other person, Max. He was annoying, but in a way that makes everyone happier. It's hard to explain. We didn't talk much as we rushed for the front exit. When we did make it, the office next to it was abandoned. Nobody was in sight and the lights were off. We looked outside into the rain and we weren't able to see anything at all. It was raining way too hard. I decided to wait until the rain slowed down before I left. However, Max did not share this same line of thought. He opened the door and walked out into the rain. I checked my phone and, like you'd expect, there was no service. I put it back into my pocket because I didn't have the password to the school Wi-Fi. I didn't have any idea what to do while waiting for the rain to stop, so I wandered the halls. When I got into an area that had the 6th grade classes, I saw someone dart into a room. They were faster than I could believe. You know how your vision clouds when you see something extremely startling? I hesitated in the hallway, wondering if it was just a scared kid or what. Slowly, I made my way over to the door that went into it. Like many classroom doors, it had the tall, narrow window with wires in it. I peeked into the window and saw a student crouched in a corner, sobbing. I slowly opened the door, and he immediately looked over to the door. The fear in his face is still burned into my memory. He ran over to me and hugged me. Based on his size, I'd assumed that he was in the 6th grade. After less than a second, he let go of me, realizing what he had done. "I'm sorry, it's just that I don't know where anybody is, and there's some scary stuff in the halls," he said through tears, sniffling every couple of seconds. "Listen to me. We're going to get out of this all right. I'll protect you until the storm is over," I told him. He calmed down a bit and nodded. I looked around outside of the classroom, wondering what he meant by something scary. I thought maybe it was what made that horrible shriek earlier. I let him out of the classroom and wandered the halls once again. The silence was deafening. I started to panic, wondering what happened to the rest of the students. As I rounded a corner, I saw what I'm sure the kid was referring to when he mentioned something scary. I quickly ducked back, holding my breath. The kid, who had told me he was Junior, was hiding behind me. I heard the footsteps of whatever it was that was in the hall. It was opening doors and looking inside. I was in the 7th grade hall at the moment. As it opened a door, I heard someone scream, and then that hideous shriek that the monster made. I had ducked behind the corner too fast to have gotten a good look at it. The scream coming from the poor person in that room was quickly silenced, after which the scream was replaced by the sound of meaty crunching. The hallway I was in had a window to the outside. The rain had definitely slowed down, but I wasn't going to risk what was in the rain. I went back the other way. I forgot to mention, but at this point, the power in the school was off, and the light inside was dim in well-windowed areas. If there weren't windows, then it was pitch black. I rounded another corner and found myself staring down a black hallway. Under any other circumstances, I would have avoided it. But I heard the monster a ways back, and it was getting closer. I slowly made my way down the hallway. I grabbed the hand of Junior as to not lose where he was. I managed to find an unlocked door, and I made my way in to try and hide from the monster. When I entered, I felt a book slam into my head. "Oi, what the?" I yelled. I couldn't see anything in the room, and when I responded, I heard someone gasp in the darkness. They apologized profusely. I had a headache from it. I reached over to the doorknob to try to find a way to lock it. Luckily, there was a small lock that prevented the doorknob from being turned. I was sure that the monster had heard me yell. My suspicions were confirmed when it slammed against the door, eliciting a scream from Junior. The monster tried to turn the doorknob, but when it didn't open, it started to get violent. It was trying to break down the door. At this point, I accepted my inevitable death. Then, an idea popped into my head. Some of the classrooms have a closet that leads to another classroom. I didn't want to turn on my flashlight so that the monster wouldn't know where we were going. I asked the kid if there was a closet in the room, to which I got no reply. There must be, I thought, because I realized that the kid was no longer here. I stumbled around in the darkness, shaking from fear. I had to keep going though, for Junior at the very least. I managed to find the closet and I slipped in. I made my way to the next classroom as the door from the previous one was finally destroyed. I heard it shatter, and I realized my mistake and rushed over to the window in this classroom. I had no choice but to brave what was out in the rain. I tossed a book at the window, hoping to break it, but it hopelessly bounced off. I made a rash decision then, and I tried my hardest to punch out the window. It cracked. I tossed another punch, pushing through the pane, and the window broke. The glass deeply lacerated my hand. Hopping out, I cut my legs. As soon as I turned around to grab Junior, the monster broke its way into the room. Junior reached out to me, but the monster was faster. I got a good look at it as it dragged Junior away. It was a massive mass of flesh, eyes, mouth, and hair. It grabbed Junior and left the room. I went numb. The screams that Junior let out as it took him haunt my dreams to this day. I tried to figure out where I was outside as the rain slowed down to a drizzle. I was in the parking lot, where it had to be a dozen police cars and ambulances waiting. EMTs ran over to me when they saw me. From that point to the hospital was a blur. My parents, the police, government agents. I got asked questions from everybody that knew about what happened. In the end, I got no answers. All I knew was that 112 people were missing. I never knew what came of the monster or what happened to the people who disappeared in the rain. I left the town soon after that, and I now live in southern Indiana. That was 4 years ago. I recently graduated high school, and I tried to find out if the event was recorded online in some way or another. I couldn't find out anything about it. No obituaries, nothing. Any time that it rains now, I always get scared. My only hope is that whatever the monster was, it didn't escape.